welcome back. Today's video is going to be about the P wave, so let's dive in. A normal P wave on lead 2, 3 AVF, basically the inferior leads, is going to be upright and positive. In AVR it's going to be negative, and we've discussed this already in the previous videos. So we're gonna draw a square over here just to go over the basics, so you know that one small square is 1 millimeter in height, and the time represented by a small square is 0.04 seconds. A normal P wave is going to be about 2.5 millimeters in height and around less than 0.12 seconds, which is going to be fairly roughly 3 small squares. So that's the normal P wave amplitude and width. In regards to a normal P wave in V1, it's going to be a biphasic P wave. We'll talk more about how this biphasic P wave is made. So I'm going to draw a heart right here with the atria and the ventricle, and the lead V1 right here. So let's divide it into the right atrium and the left atrium. So you've got the first current going from the SA node to the AV node. We'll label this as 1. And the second current depolarizing into the left atrium, label this as 2. So initially the current is going towards V1, so you get a positive wave, and the second part of the current is going away from V2, so you get a negative current, hence the biphasic P wave in lead V1. Let's divide the P wave into 2 segments. So we understand that the blue representation is basically the right atrial part of the P wave, and the red color is going to be the left atrial part of the P wave. You combine these two together and you get a nice rounded P wave. So here you can see the first part is the right atrial part and the second part is the left atrial part. So let's move on. A collective term used for right atrial enlargement or right atrial anomaly or anything associated with the right atrium is supposed to be termed as RAA, right atrial abnormality. So you can see that this is going to be the normal P wave like this. Now what happens if we increase the amplitude of the right atrium? Remember the fact that I told you that more muscle, more current. So if the right atrium is enlarged, the right atrial depolarization is increased, and you get a P wave that's pretty much shaped like this, and this is called a right atrial abnormality. Basically the amplitude of the P wave becomes high. There can be numerous causes for this, basically bunched into 4 categories. The first one is pulmonary disease, so you've got COPD, asthma, pulmonary embolism. You've got the second cause, which is valvular heart disease, so you've got some kind of tricuspid disease. Then you've got the congenital conditions, acquired tricuspid disease. And then the final thing is a cardiomyopathy, which could be arrhythmogenic right ventricular cardiomyopathy. This characteristic pattern is also known as P pulmonale. So the next thing is a left atrial abnormality. Again, this is a term which encompasses everything, such as dilatation, enlargement. So you're just going to call it a LAA, left atrial abnormality. Again, what we're going to do is we're going to break it down to the 2 segments. So what you want to do is you want to increase the amplitude of the left atrial segment over here. So what your P wave is going to do is going to become it's going to become notched. So a bifid P wave. So remember that there can be variations to the bifid. Another variant is the fact that we understand that the depolarization of the left atrium happens after the right atrium. So what can happen is that it just gets prolonged. So instead of a bifid P wave, it's just that the length of the P wave might increase. So one variant is a notched or a bifid P wave, and the other variant could be a prolonged P wave. Now simultaneously, let's look at lead V1 as well in regards to left atrial abnormality. So we understand that there's a biphasic P wave in lead V1. But what we're going to do is we're just going to increase the amplitude of the current of the left atrium. So what's going to happen is that the first part is going to be pretty much the same, but the second part, which is inverted, it's going to be deeper and more broad. Of course, there can be variations because of different kinds of lead placement. So essentially what's going to happen is that the depth of the P wave is going to be more than 1 millimeter over here. Again, there's various causes for a left atrial abnormality. You've got the typical MR, MS, atrial regurgitation, aortic stenosis. You've got rheumatic heart disease, which can cause damage to the mitral valve. You've got hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy, dilated cardiomyopathy, coronary artery disease, and then you've got systemic hypertension, which can eventually cause LVH and LAA. This characteristic pattern was also known as P mitral because of the fact that it was most commonly seen in rheumatic heart disease. Also, I want you to note one more thing is that coronary artery disease can show signs of left atrial abnormality without actual dilatation of the chamber. So let's say you're sitting in the ED and someone comes up to you and brings you an ECG which shows pretty much complexes like this. So you've got a tall positive P wave in lead 2, lead 3, and you've got a P wave with a prominent negative deflection. We understand that this is the right atrial part and this is the left atrial part. So essentially this could be biatrial abnormality, biatrial enlargement, which is quite possible. Well, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. This was a short video. Stay tuned. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and Godspeed.